Greetings, Shalom. I had a lot in my mind going on, but what came specifically in hand, what came to me is that work at hand is at hand. And I put some verses, ended up being 8 different ones that has something about at hand in them all. Maybe I'll read some of them. Do split screen. Matthew 10:7, Messiah teaching. As you go, preach, saying the kingdom of heaven is at hand. So that's something for a believer to do with the heart, as the meaning is never to just say words. It's never that, unless there is a discernment, unless we read something specifically that's setting apart some kind of carnality that people do. But the teaching from him above, from the Father, it's never about say the words, and if you say the literal words, it's about saying the words in the heart, making sure that's happening in the heart. But yes, that can include saying literal words, but it's just true that the important thing is always that the understanding is in the heart and said in the heart. Otherwise, it's not real. Otherwise, it's a masquerade. It's fake. It's a deceiver. If not in the heart, then someone doesn't believe. And that's real. Unbelief is very real. Everybody was an unbeliever first, and most in the world still are, the many, because that's the only truth that there is right now. That's what his word teaches. Many called, few chosen. And there can be no pride in whoever is chosen in the world. There can be no pride because he doesn't allow it to be. No boasting through pride. But there is a good boasting, and we even read that word, to boast in Jehovah, in the Creator, in him. If there's a boast, to do it through that good way, in Messiah, boasting not for self, because the works are not from self or real. So all his truth makes sense. It's one, it's together, it's knit together like we read. It's all perfectly one. And there's no boasting, no pride allowed. Not that we can never slip up and have a prideful moment. But there is no prideful way allowed. It's not accepted from him. It's called sin. Something the world doesn't believe. Pride is sin because it's not learning what pride is. It even says the words, but always remembering that it's not just about the words, but it does say it from the heart, and even the words come out of people's mouth, that they're prideful about this, prideful about that, and I mean it with the best intentions. I meant this with the best intentions. I didn't mean to hurt you or do this or that. And when it's coming from the world, it's a lie every time. After someone murders someone with intent to kill, how can they say they had the best intentions for the one they murdered? After someone hates somebody with intent, which is what a wolf will do, it always has intent for evil. An unbeliever, wolf, or a wolf's in sheep clothing, masquerading as a believer, but a wolf is a wolf by nature, and it tears up things and kills and steals and destroys life, because that's who and what a wolf is. Man is a beast apart from the Creator. And it's throughout all his word. And the way he works is he shows a little bit, and then he shows a little more. Next thing you know, you see that it's everywhere. His word always taught it. Man is a beast. And the beasts want other beasts to worship them. They can have it. in this world, some kind of power, lust to control. Nebuchadnezzar wants others to bow down to the literal statue and image made in his likeness. That's meaning something. The Father doesn't care about the carnal outward thing by itself. It never meant that. The understanding for what that means has to be given and sought after and asked. That's why Messiah says to ask. What does that mean for us right now to create an image and then have others and want others to worship that image? And if you don't, what does Nebuchadnezzar do? Well, he wants to kill, steal, and destroy anyone who doesn't worship his image, because he's a coward and an insecure, wicked, carnal man, which is Adam and Eve, everyone. Messiah denied himself because he knew and was given the truth by his Father and Creator. How could he be called his Father, but not his Elohim? No, we do read, church world out there. We also read directly that the Father is Messiah's Elohim. My Elohim, your Elohim, the same. My God, your God. Messiah has an Elohim, a God, the Creator. How could the Father be someone's Elohim for real and not their Creator? Is there a precept or a teaching in Scripture to allow this massive loophole exception, a cricket exception, because there is a such thing as righteous good exception at the proper time and at the proper place, which also has to be at the proper time, or else it doesn't apply and it will be sin. But this is not. This is evil. That's the discernment. Where is the teaching that someone could have the Father as their Elohim but not be their Creator? Even everyone who doesn't believe the Father is their Creator. And in this understanding, he is everyone's Elohim, and yet he's not. He is in that it's his creation, and he created all things, and everyone is in this way, but not all believe right now. And in that way, spiritually, not everyone has the Father for their Elohim, their Creator. But Messiah says, my Elohim, your Elohim. And he worshiped the true and only true Creator, as he testified, believing in the Father's word and not destroying it, keeping the Father's laws through walking in the Spirit, through learning from the Father how to keep it, and the power coming from above. He teaches man how to keep it. Man doesn't do that. Father's the one that gives and adds the increase. The apostles, someone over here or there, they throw a little water, someone throws a seed, one is doing this, one's doing that, but who adds the increase? The Creator. He's the one that makes it grow. No man has ever done that and never will do that. So if someone thinks they're doing that in their heart, they're already in a lie. They're already in great pride if they think they can do that. But there is a way to give. There's a way that someone can say, like the apostle did, perhaps you can save someone, because he's speaking out of the truth and not out of the religion and carnal pride. He's not speaking out of he believes he can save and has power to save someone. He's speaking out of the truth, knowing this already when he says that. Perhaps husband could save wife, or wife could save husband, meaning someone to believe. But we don't know. But perhaps, maybe. Don't say it's for sure. Be neutral. That's what he's saying concerning that. There's things we have to be neutral in and not say to the left or right anything, because we don't know. That work is done in the heart. It doesn't look like, it's not to be seen outwardly with literal eyes. That's not the understanding. It's something done within. But because of this truth always being true for all things, and the kingdom of heaven being within, everyone in the world could just say, I didn't do it, I don't do anything, I don't sin, and nobody could prove anything in the court. That's why there's the heavenly court, where the Father and Messiah is at minimum 2 witnesses for every sin done in the heart secretly. And he's judging, regardless of what the earthly court is doing. If we go and murder someone with our heart, we're going to receive a judgment. Darkness and death come upon someone suddenly when it does. And he can do that in a moment's notice, in a split second, in a millisecond. I'm sure the Father could divide a millisecond into 10,000 divisions, and each division to him is like a whole entire 5 seconds. Divide a millisecond into 10,000, just 1 millisecond, which is very, very quick, just a fraction of a second, and divide it and have each one be like a day, because we are not the creator and he is, and he has all power over everything, including time. And it must be just a little bit different with him than what we're seeing with that. So they do say some right words in the church world sometime, but that's not the definition of doing his will. That doesn't prove anything. What's the heart doing? Because they do make a show. As Messiah says, you make yourselves clean and look good on the outside and beautiful, but inside, inwardly, you're full of dead men's bones and all lawlessness and corruption. And they hate him for that, because he spoke the truth. And if he didn't speak the truth at that time, at the right time, what he needed to say, he would be a liar, and he would be murdering his neighbor by letting the truth just pass by and letting a lie stand. And to be in agreement, he would testify that he's in agreement with someone's lie and make no correction at all. Then he would be a liar and murder his neighbor, murder himself, because a judgment will come on someone for doing sin and evil. And once the knowledge is given, it's absolutely imputed on someone. That's why someone starts dying after they start growing up early on, and they look back and say, the former times were better than these. We read not to do that. In Ecclesiastes somewhere, we read not to say that. You don't judge rightly, you don't know. However we read it concerning that, you don't do rightly, we read. But why would the whole world say that in their heart? Because they were in much less sin as a kid, because they had some kind of life. It's almost as if everybody started with a little something, and then that light starts fading away and dying more and more. So someone's faithlessness just becomes stronger. It's just a bottomless pit. How deep can it go? Well, no one truly knows of themselves. Not the enemy doesn't even know what that is, but how could he know something about it if he doesn't know what it is? It's according to his mercy, and if the Father judges, someone's done more sin for whatever reason, they fall down the pit even deeper. And when you think you can't go deeper, you can. That's what a bottomless pit is. It always can go deeper. But we read Messiah saying, actually right in Zephaniah, with a search that I'm doing here, Joel is giving me some results for the day of Jehovah is coming, for it is at hand. Actually reads first, blow the trumpet in Zion and sound an alarm in my holy mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of Jehovah is coming, for it is at hand. Zephaniah 1:7. Be silent in the presence of Master Elohim, for the day of Jehovah is at hand. For Jehovah has prepared a sacrifice. He has invited his guests. Wow, that's amazing, because it just brought to mind something that I've had in my mind and sharing with others about the wedding and what this day of Jehovah really is. And Zephaniah has a little bit in there that makes a connection. Someone can see it. He has prepared a sacrifice. He has invited his guests. But there is something to the kingdom of heaven starting with Messiah, where before it was just shown in the types and shadows. Therefore it was and it was not. It was in that it was through a shadow and type, and it was not in that it was not the reality yet in Messiah, the true light. So it always was, in understanding that it is, and it is to come, the Almighty. And the beast was, and it is, and is to come, and will come. Why? So that it can be destroyed and go to perdition. Matthew, and saying, repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. From that time, Yehoshua began to preach and to say, repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. As you go, preach, saying the kingdom of heaven is at hand. In Mark, after John was put in prison, Yehoshua came to Galilee, preaching the gospel of the kingdom of Elohim, and saying, the time is fulfilled, and the kingdom of Elohim is at hand. Repent and believe in the gospel. Who can understand? Who can see? What does it mean? The time is fulfilled. Because those words are true. They're true. And yet, there is something to be fulfilled still. But the reality of Messiah in us, in those that believe, has come. For those that believe, Messiah has come already. Receiving the Father's Spirit is the kingdom of heaven, to see him, to know the Father and Messiah. This is age-abiding life. Messiah gave the definition of, you read eternal life, age-abiding life, is to know the Father and Messiah, to know them. And the pouring out of the Spirit was the beginning, in literal time, of the kingdom of heaven starting, but now it doesn't matter what time it is. The only important thing now afterwards is that someone believes. When they believe, that's when it became true, real. Someone receiving the Father's Spirit and the kingdom of heaven at hand. Messiah already coming, and yet he will come. And it is all about now. His word means something for now, all of it. The time is fulfilled and the kingdom of Elohim is at hand. Repent and believe the good news, gospel. Romans 13, the night is far spent, the day is at hand. The day, the light, is at hand. Now, to those that believe, therefore let us cast off the works of darkness, sin, wickedness, death. What does light have to do with darkness? The creation teaches also. Nothing. There's a separation between light and darkness. Wherever light is, there is no darkness if light is truly there. And let us put on the armor of light. Philippians, let your gentleness be known to all men. The master is at hand. James, you also be patient, establish your hearts, for the coming of the master is at hand. Peter, 1 Peter, but the end of all things is at hand. Therefore be serious and watchful in your prayers. Serious and watchful. Revelation 22, the last chapter, I put most of that chapter in the description, I think. And he said to me, do not seal the words of the prophecy of this book, for the time is at hand. He who is unjust, let him be unjust still. If that's what it has to be, let it be. That's what this is teaching. He who is filthy, let him be filthy still. Don't force, don't do evil. Don't curse, don't attack the enemy. Let them attack you if that's what they want to do. Turn the other cheek. We read, don't resist evil at all, zero. Someone wants to kill you, let him kill you. It's not a joke. But the Father will be with his people. and be a protection until that time, until the proper time where, Messiah was led by the beast, captured by the beast because the Father allowed it, and was overcome. As the Father has shown me, this is the natural understanding. Messiah was overcome, not in truth, not losing faith, but overcome literally because they killed him. And we read in Revelation, they will overcome the saints and kill them. It has nothing to do with being overcome before that point and to lose faith and belief and not overcome sin and death. Messiah did overcome sin and death and the world and the beast. But concerning this scripture with this understanding, it's to discern between the natural and the spiritual. This overcoming is not spiritual. He was literally overcome by the beast, by Pilate, by the world, by the devil, by the sons of the devil, those that are of the ruler of this darkness of this wicked age, like we read. And they are captivated in slavery to serve sin and a slave to their sins. And they can't come out of it. Therefore, they have to do evil, and they can only do more evil for doing evil, because that's the judgment. The Father allowed it to happen for a purpose, pretty deep purpose. Laying down someone's life at the very end is the finishing. The Father has shown me more on it, that Jehovah's day, the day of Jehovah, is now for those that believe. It's at hand always for those that the day of Jehovah is now. But there is something about discerning the end from the beginning. The end of a believer's life is the last day for a believer, spiritually understanding this. The scriptures for what we read last day, the heavenly understanding is a believer's last day. We can know when it's near, but not the actual day and hour. But you can know pretty close. Obviously, anything but the day and hour. Messiah taught that we will know. These are the signs. And what are the signs? What do they look like? That all has to be given. Otherwise, they're dead letters, what Messiah is teaching. Someone would have to ask for what that means. That there's signs he gives. And when you see all these signs, then know that the time is near. Behold, it's at the door, knocking. A believer will know. Father warns and gives the signs and will let everyone know that that day is near. But we do read no one knows the day or hour, so we don't know that in advance, the exact day or hour. And there's an understanding that this also applies for the end of the age. But what value and what importance is that to a believer? What if that time doesn't come in their life? What about all the believers that have already come and gone? What value was the literal last day of the age to them? Zero, nothing. And yet it is valuable to know. It's just not valuable at all to only see it carnally in unbelief. Speaking of some great tribulation to come, when a believer's life is the great tribulation. It's the spiritual tribulation. And it grows. That's what the teaching is. At the end, it's the strongest. But it starts out small at the beginning of a believer's life, and its end is big. And a believer can know when that's near. And the stars from heaven fall. The heavens are shaken. And the Father's judgment, his righteous anger and wrath against sin, against the carnal man and wickedness that has to be destroyed in us, is finished at the end of a believer's life, because it's a literal death. And Adam is wiped out. It's complete, which is to lay down life and not resist that day, because Messiah didn't resist it. He laid down his life spiritually, continually, every day. And the great test at the end, laid down his literal life. It's a pretty big test. It's about what the heart's doing. Someone could be captured and tortured and killed, but they did not ever live that, even though they have nothing, they can't get out of prison and someone kills them. They didn't do that at any time. They didn't lay down their life. Their heart never did that. It was in fear and trembling and wrath and rage and all sin and wickedness, which is what matters, to overcome that and not do evil. So it'll look the same. Well, it won't even look the same actually in this case, because typically an evildoer caught and about to be destroyed is going to fill up with wrath and rage, trying to hide all that fear of death, even pretending all the way to the end, but it's shaking inside greatly. And it never did that in the heart to lay down its life. It never did that work in the heart and lay down its life and allow it to be. Messiah did. We're supposed to do that daily, to do the Father's will. But the end is the end, and there's nothing that we should worry about. That's the teaching until that day, because one day at a time, that's it. But we can know things. We seek the truth to understand these things. The star falling is like dying, isn't it? And Messiah said the stars from heaven will fall, and it'll be like a fig tree shaken, and like figs falling on the ground. Messiah being the light in the world, the only light in the world at the time, the light, the star. He's a star, a light, a true light, the Father's light in him. When they killed him, that star fell, didn't it? That's what the Father showed me. Whether there's a lot more to it, I don't know, but showed me a little bit on it as one of the signs. And we read this must be so in Revelation, to wait a little while. It's not a long time, especially in death. There is no time. So everything is like it's going to happen real soon, because it is, because he comes to those that believe right now. And our expectation is towards the Father and Messiah right now for things that we need right now spiritually. Asking for things, all kinds of things. Wherever someone's at, we read to have patience because it's applying right now. Messiah comes now more than once because there's droughts. And the testing is, what is someone going to do during that? When he doesn't give you food for a little while, spiritual fast, what will someone do? Will they do good still? Will they grind it out? And I mean that in a good way, not in an evil way. Will we still do what's right and have patience and wait? Because he will come back. He comes. Those who believe in his time, over and over in our life, it's applying already. What will Messiah see right now? And that he's looking at everyone's heart. What does he see the people in the church world doing, for example, with all the lies and blasphemy? Does he see that they seek the kingdom of Elohim and do his will and want to do his will? What does Moses see when he comes down from the mountain, when he comes to the people? What does he see? They went and got into sin very quickly, we read. They rebelled and built their own gods real quickly, real fast. And they said, we don't know what's come of Moses. We don't know what's come of that guy. He's dead to us. He's probably dead. So they didn't believe in Moses. That's an example. This is what's happening right now with Messiah, of heavenly things. It's reality. It's real. What does Messiah see right now if he were to check everyone's heart? What about the harlot, the many called? What does he see? Are they not doing exactly what they read? And then they get drunk spiritually and beat their servants with their heart, at the very least. Obviously, if someone does that literally, they're doing that in their heart in this case, because you can't beat someone. You can't beat someone yourself and not do it in the heart. That's the discernment. If it's being done literally, it's being done in the heart. If someone murders someone literally, on purpose. They murdered them in the heart first, for real. And the murder in the heart is what's being looked at. It's obvious that literal murder is sin. It's not what's being looked at. It's not the heavenly thing. What is the heart doing? Because if the murder in the heart was healed and we're not doing that, then you would never kill someone. We would never literally murder someone. It wouldn't be a problem. So what the heavenly thing is the highest, first, the most important. Way above the earth, way above carnal things, man's understanding of natural things. All these verses about it being at hand. Another teaching discernment to discern out of some of these verses is this was said long after the Spirit was poured out. Why would we read? Let's see. In 1 Peter, this is some years already after Messiah's resurrection. People do know that, right? They can say that. So why do we read, but the end of all things is at hand? Still at hand? Why do we read in James, years after Messiah's resurrection and the Spirit being poured out? Be patient. Establish your hearts, for the coming of the Master is at hand. Let your Philippians, let your gentleness be made known to all men. The Master is at hand. There's something very important to see for what it means to live by these words. If someone doesn't ever see it at all, how do they live it? How do they know what it means and live it? So there's an understanding that he's always at hand. It's for believers to know that. Unbelievers don't know that, don't believe that. He's at hand anyways. But they are rejecting the message. They are not believing. And if that's so, we read, let the filthy be filthy still. We can't condemn them, can't judge them out of a condemning judgment. Messiah says, I have much to judge you in many things. So someone that says, judge not, Messiah taught to judge. How about also, he said, judge with righteous judgment, not by appearance, but do judge with righteous judgment. So how does that work with judge not? So the world just goes around saying, judge not, and it has no clue what it means and doesn't believe what it means or live it. It does not live those words. It breaks it and it sins. Because they're not seeking the understanding. Is this carnal, wicked judgment from man is the judgment we read not to judge. Don't do this in the heart towards the enemy, towards anyone. Don't condemn in the heart. Let the filthy be filthy still. That's it. They're already condemned. They're already in. Father's judging those on the outside already. Outside of the kingdom. Outside are dogs, sorcerers, everyone who loves and practices a lie. We read in Revelation 22. And through others sharing things back and forth, it's an interesting thing with Revelation. And there's 22 chapters. Someone mentioned some time back something about Psalm 119. Is that the one? I think it is. The big one, where every letter is 8 verses to every Hebrew letter. There's 22 main Hebrew letters, Psalm 119. And they mentioned the first and the last. So take the first, read the first letter, the first 8, and then read the last letter. Then go to the second letter and read the last counterpart, the second to last letter. Then keep going until it meets in the middle. And then I had a thought to check and do some adding with Revelation, writing down on paper. Actually, I have it still here. Let me see. 22. So if you do the first and the last, first chapter, and then the 22nd, second, and then the 21st. And if you add until there's only one number, so 2 plus 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. Next one is 5. Next one, 3 plus 2 plus 0 is 5. 5 plus 18, so 5 plus 1 is 6. 6 plus 8 is 14. And then 1 and 4, add until there's only one number, and 1 plus 4 is 5. And I found by doing this first and last adding of 1 through 22 until you get to chapter 11, and then you add it with 12. 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 2 is 5. All of them equal 5 by this adding. Now, what are the odds of that? There's no odds. This specifically came to mind to do, and other things like it have been seen with others I've spoke to. And this was just one thing added to it, that what they all happen to add to 5 when you do the first and last and add them until you get a single number. Every one, they all add to 5. And we read 5 is in Genesis, the day 5 is like multiplying. It's about be fruitful, multiply. I believe that's what day 5 is about. Not that that's it, but it's, and then we read there were 5,000 people, which is 5, without, zeros being nothing. That they only had 3 fish and 2 loaves of bread, or the other way around. I think it was 3 and 2. But I know there was 5,000 people, and he multiplies the food so they all could eat. It's a miracle. So then 5,000 people, it was multiplied to them, and it just happens to line up with Genesis day 5, of which there is specifically, we're reading there, multiplying and power, the Father's power. Someone shared power, and that is, I do see it as power. Multiplying requires power, the Father's power. He could do anything. It takes power to do that miracle, to multiply so that all 5,000 can eat. And there's just something more to 5, I'm sure, to be seen, that I need to see further. But that's just one of the things that came to mind one day, and it just all added up to 5, 1 and 22. What was I at with that hand? Revelation 22. And behold, I am coming quickly, and my reward is with me, to give to everyone according to his work. Not belief, not looks, not what someone says, only not according to their works, because that's what proves it. That's what proves belief, is doing the Father's very own works, is the proof. So everyone is judged by their works. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, the first and the last. And I shared it before, but another connection with Messiah, just a confirmation, along with other things, to confirm his true name, the true Hebrew name. That the name that it is the name when looking up Joshua in the Old Testament, and then looking up the Hebrew, that Hebrew name for Joshua, which Yehoshua, is Messiah's true name. It's right there, 199 times total, which is an interesting number too, 199. That adds up to 19. 1 and 9 is 10, and you're left with 1. His name is, he's one with the Father, and so are all his people. Father, Messiah, and all his people are one in spirit, one. His name is one, one with the Father. The verse numbers for the first time Messiah's name is used, Yehoshua, but we'll read transliteration into English, Joshua, adds up to 8. And the last time the verses add up to 8 in the Old Testament, when you add up the numbers, the verse numbers, the first adds up to 8 when you keep adding until you get a single number. And the last time that name is used, Messiah's name, is 8. And he is the beginning of the new creation. Those that believe this is the beginning of the new creation now, to be formed, created, made now, continually in the Father's image, of which Messiah was. Made in the Father's image, his spiritual image, the heart, not the outside now, not what someone looks like, looks righteous, but the heart in the Father's image, the spiritual image. And the first and last we read, Messiah he's the beginning of the new creation, because everything the Father did is through Messiah. Nothing is done apart from through Messiah. The Father made all things to go through Messiah. There's no such thing as a true believer that doesn't believe in the true Messiah. If they don't truly believe in the true Messiah, they don't believe. They're not believers. They're false. Wolves in sheep's clothing, frauds, Pharisees, hypocrites. They don't truly believe, because the Father made all things to go through Messiah. And this truth is for all people, even unbelievers that never believe. It's just a little bit later for them that they will see the truth. That second death is coming. That death is working in people. They're in death that don't believe. They don't have life right now. And the power of the second death is overcoming all those that don't believe. And we read about the lake of fire. Yes, it is to come, this judgment for all those that don't believe in the second resurrection, to go through this fiery judgment, the lake of fire, sulfur, which cleanses and represents purifying, mixed with fire. Father is a consuming fire. He burns up the wicked, the chaff, all the evil. Who can dwell with age-abiding burnings? We read it. Who can dwell with everlasting burnings? Those that believe in him and fear him. Those that actually trust in the Creator and want to do his will. They can dwell with these burnings and this fire. It's to burn the wickedness out of us and purify all his people, kind of like gold is purified 7 times, the complete, perfect purifying, the completion of the purifying process and the perfect, complete thing, 7. To be in Messiah is true rest. He's the master of Sabbath. The rest is in him. This rest is not just words, it's works. It's a real rest. The Father's not fake. It's not just words. Okay, now I say words. This rest is what unbelievers don't have. They have no rest within themselves. They are in unrest, running rampant within themselves. That's what's important, not what something looks like only. It doesn't matter what it looks like. The heart has to be discerned first. What is it doing? That's the main thing. What is it doing? Is it in death? Someone in death? In unrest? Not believing, but he says, I swear they shall not enter my rest. And we read to be diligent, to make sure, to even test self, to do everything we know how according to his word, to make sure that this is true for self, that his people are entering his rest. We read to do that. It's just so that unbelievers won't do that. That's for believers to do. Messiah teaches to fear the Creator. I'll tell you the one who to fear, the one that can destroy the body and then also destroy your soul in Gehenna. fear him. The judgment for sin is death and destruction, and Adam, the old man, somebody apart from belief, they're being destroyed daily, and not for good, but just destroyed with no life, because Adam has to deny himself. There is no way for Adam to be righteous of self. Everything he does from self is the sin, is the rebellion, and is literally not righteousness. It's not only the Father's righteousness. Working through his people is righteousness, not our own works. That's why discernment is needed, spiritual discernment, because how can someone see the difference of Father's works and someone that's masquerading and making themselves look like it? How can someone see whether it's the Father's works in someone working, which will look like someone doing something, or if it's somebody's own works, which looks like someone's doing something, but it's from self? How can someone see something that looks so close for an image? Called discernment. Father gives discernment. Spiritual discernment is needed to see what the heart's works are doing for real, what the heart's thinking for real, what its intentions are, what kind of sins is it completing in spirit, what is that darkened mind and that wicked heart doing? What kind of sin is it doing? Is it lusting right now? Is it committing adultery in its mind and heart right now? What's the discernment? That's righteous judgment, because that's based on what someone's heart is actually doing, which is the only real thing. Everything else is not real. It's just an image. Disconnected from the heart, it means nothing. Clean the inside of the cup, Messiah said, and the outside, it'll be clean. It'll be fine. Don't worry about it. Clean the inside of the dish, and then the outside. That's good then, if it's clean then. It'll be fine if the inside's clean. The heart. And it does wickedness, murder, thefts, robbing, stealing, killing, destroying. Might as well read that verse, actually, because I don't even think it's read that often, even in the church world. There's a lot of Messiah's words they don't even touch most of the time. They're magicians. They handle his word deceitfully and give people the delusion that they want to hear, because they're destroyers and want them dead, and their works prove it. And that day, when it comes for everyone, will reveal them that they wanted others to be in death. Yes, it will, because that's already the discernment right now. No one can do evil works continually to someone and lie to someone continually and not want death for them. Their heart wants, in a confusion, in a delusion, death for people, and their works prove it. Can't lie to someone and claim to love them. If it's a lie, no matter what it's about, if it's a lie about a piece of paper, the lie in the heart's a lie. What does it matter what it's about? It doesn't. It could be something bigger or smaller, it doesn't matter. That same work is a lie in the heart. That's a lying to your neighbor. Can't lie to the neighbor, can't lie to the enemy. Not supposed to lie to Hitler, not supposed to deceive Hitler with intent and work evil and lie and do the exact same work Hitler does, the same work that the enemy does. And then what is that then? No different than the enemy? What reward will someone have, Messiah says, if we only love those who love us, or do good to those and love those that do good to us only? That's what the enemy does. It's what Hitlers do. It's what the most wicked people on the earth right now are doing and have always done. What reward is that, Messiah says? That's pretty strong. It's pretty powerful. Break that and we're breaking everything. Break that continually and nobody is keeping anything. Everything else they're doing is worthless if they're breaking that every day. All of it. That's how someone should see it, because that is the truth. So if any of us, anybody in the world, anyone that claims to believe is breaking that every day, everything else, all of it, even the knowledge, even if it's true knowledge, worthless, no good. Someone will be in death and then just making noise, stirring up wrath and divisions, making noise. That's what people with only knowledge do, with no love. They just sought after knowledge to go and show their wisdom out of pride and maybe start their own kingdom, make money, whatever their crooked intentions are. That's what it's going to do, make noise only. It's hollow inside, like a chime just blowing in the wind, making noise. Worthless for every good work. We also read that, worthless for every good work. That means every. And worthless means worthless. It's worth, it's not worth anything for good. Let's see, what verse is that for a Messiah saying? I don't know. Don't have it memorized. Let's see, the word heart. I'm getting 173 searches for heart in the New Testament. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see Elohim. Can someone that has no purity in the heart see him? No. Where is that verse? If so, show the verse, always ask the question, First of all, is this true? Blessed are the pure in heart. Yes, it's true, for they shall see. So can the opposite see him? No. Can those that don't have any purity in heart see him? No. And if someone were to say yes to you, ask them where. Where does it say that? Where is that scripture? They won't find it. Blessed is the wicked heart, for they shall see Elohim. I don't think so. No, I know so. It's not. How about this teaching, which is big for everyone, but especially guys? How often does this apply? And if someone's breaking it daily, they're in death. It's that important. You have heard it was said to those of old, you shall not commit adultery. Exodus, Deuteronomy, and wherever else we read so much about it. But I say to you that whoever looks at a woman, he's contrasting man's understanding of the Father's law and word and self-understanding through self-righteousness and trying ourselves. That's why Messiah says, you heard it was said. He's not teaching to break the Father's word. He's teaching the only way to keep it, and everyone else is wrong. All the Pharisees, all the religion is wrong and liars. Messiah is the only one that kept the Father's word for what it really means and lived it. Nobody else did until the Spirit was poured out, but he was the only light in the world for a while. He's the only one keeping the Father's word. Nobody else was keeping it, not even one. I say to you that whoever looks at a woman to lust for her has already committed adultery with her in his heart. Powerful. It's easy to say the words in religion every once in a while, even these words. Of course, they wouldn't want to do that often, I don't think, because that's what a carnal man is literally doing all the time. He's literally committing adultery all the time in his heart constantly. So you don't really want to read often exactly what you are unless it's a perfect masquerade. For the only reason to read it now is to try to make it look like you don't do it at all and make yourself hiding on purpose. That's why someone reads what they read in religion. And their intention of the heart does something only so as to make it look like they're righteous and that they are not sinners or sinning in that one thing. Someone's either doing that right now. I'm either doing that or I'm not doing that. One of the two for sure. One of the two for sure. Either reading it to try to hide and have nothing to do with his will, nothing to do with keeping this, not growing and learning at all in it, and only saying something to make self look wise and righteous and hide sins and cover yourself like Adam and Eve, or speaking out of the truth, one of the two, out of understanding and doing it. Whoever looks at a woman to lust for her has already committed adultery. That's breaking the Father's law, carnal man, carnal Jews, law keepers, so-called. 613 commandments keepers, as they say. The Hebrew Israelites, are you keeping this? You know, this is Messiah's words here. This is breaking, you shall not commit adultery all along. That's the real breaking of it, not literal adultery. That's obvious. This is the true breaking of adultery in the heart. This is the law breaking, which by definition of his own word is a sinner. Transgression of the law. Sinner. What is the definition of sin? Transgression of the law in the heart. Lawlessness. So what if someone looks good on the outside and sells that they don't commit adultery? What good is it for them if that's all they do in their heart? That's death. The wages of sin is death. Real sin, not fake sin, not looking like something, not the outward. It's not what his word means. The wages of sin is death, real sin. What is adultery? Lusting in the actual heart, thinking with the thoughts, the mind. It's a certain work. It works a certain way with adultery. And it's an actual pulling in, lusting, imagining, all kinds of things, lusting in the heart. This is breaking. You shall not commit adultery. This is sin, and that sin's going to cause death for all those that have nothing to do with it. If your right eye causes you to sin, pluck it out and cast it from you. For it is more profitable for you that one of your members perish than for your whole body to be cast into Gehenna, hell there. Gehenna fire, hell. Why is it called hell? Well, that's another thing. But it's way beyond the word. It's what it means, not just the word by itself, even though in truth, I don't know how someone comes up with that literal word, but I do know in corruption how they came up with it. If your right eye causes you to sin, pluck it out, cast it from you, for it is more profitable for you that one of your members perish than for your whole body to be cast into Gehenna. Either way, everyone's being destroyed. Might as well believe then and choose the good way, the narrow way. Every true believer knows that they had no ability to really choose that, but nevertheless, choose the good way. That's what we read. This is good, this is profitable, more profitable. And if your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off and cast it from you, for it is more profitable for you that one of your members perish than for your whole body to be cast into Gehenna. The carnal man is a man. Carnal woman is carnal woman. And if what's causing sin is getting cut off, you won't be able to sin the same way. But there's an understanding that the spiritual understanding is that it's a process, and the whole entire arm or hand doesn't get cut off, but little pieces of it. But this is the teaching, cut it off. And if our eyes are plucked out fully, then there will be no more lusting in the heart. And if someone thinks this is not possible, they don't believe. They want to destroy you. Get away from them, is what I say. Because I've never seen anything else. I've never seen someone not want to destroy you if they don't believe this in their heart. They don't truly believe it. They're going to try to dump their sin on you and stick you and destroy you and take you down. It is possible, just not with man. It's possible with the Father, with Messiah in us, to literally cut off that old man that's needing to perish, dying. But that's for our good, so that we don't sin. But understanding the process so that we don't sin as much next time, so it's not exactly the same. And to be able to do more good and less of the evil and keep going. It's a strange thing for it to be so. It's like almost you test it, test the Father, and try to say like, okay, I'm gonna try to like force myself to lust, and it's like not working anymore. I mean, I'm not saying to do that. I'm just saying that, I know what these thoughts are. I've had those thoughts, kind of testing it. I'm not saying that that's the perfect good thing to do, but it's just true anyways, though. When he cuts off enough and someone's grown enough in something, it literally isn't there. It's pretty frightening almost that this is possible, because nobody in the world believes it, because they don't ever see it. They don't see the Father's power. So what do? When man who doesn't believe, he has to try. And someone that's trying so hard, they might restrain themselves. They might start shaking inside because they're trying so bad to like not do it, but they have nothing in their heart for not wanting to do it. Nothing's been cut off yet, so their heart really wants it still a lot. And then if you try to stop that, it looks like a wild dog on a leash. It wants to kill, steal, destroy. It wants, to commit adultery very badly. But it's got a leash, and it's like ruff, 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 and it's going. It's no good. And the inside of that person this is no good. That's not the true way. It's death to do that, to try to restrain self. That's not going to work. Put sticky notes everywhere, wear something on your clothes to try to remember the commandments, remember adultery. None of that's going to work ever. The heart will continually do it in unbelief. And the old man not being cut off, it cannot stop doing it in the heart. Not everyone does the same things literally. Not everyone goes and kills literal people, but everyone is a murderer in the heart that doesn't believe, and they can't stop murdering, which is by definition serial killer that does multiple people. It applies to self. It applies to everything, everyone. Every believer was a serial killer first because of all the different peoples they murdered throughout their life in the heart. We read that right now. I think it's in Matthew 5, maybe not. Since I'm here. But I tell you not to resist an evil person, but whoever slaps you on the right cheek, turn the other to him also. Messiah is teaching, and he's teaching through parables. It's not about literal slapping someone, but a movie might make it about that. Someone gets slapped and they turn the other cheek, and you could just see even in the movie, the actor is doing what I see people do in real life. It's really strange. It's all fake. It's all a show. It's trying to be righteous. It has nothing to do with righteousness in the heart. That person that turned the other cheek violently hates the person that just hit them and is stabbing them over and over and over in the heart. And the works can be seen. It's not something that we're guessing at. It can be seen. For all those that don't believe it can be seen, murder is seen. How does someone look at someone that kills someone and they saw it with their literal eyes and someone died literally? What? That it can't be seen? Is that really what they believe, or is it because they're blind that they do that and say that? Like we read, they have eyes but cannot see. They have ears but cannot hear. What can't they hear? Everything that matters and is important, all things of spirit, everything to do with the heart and the spiritual law, they cannot see and hear. Therefore, someone is only a sinner that sins continually, that cannot see or hear anything at all. That means they only sin continually. That's it. Can't see and have zero knowledge. How is it someone's doing the good works from the heart? So you could see it. You can see the butchering and the murdering going on in the heart, no matter how much someone tries to hide it. If the Father gives somebody discernment, no one can fake what's real. You could see what they're doing in spirit. Even if they put on a good act with their face, you could still see it. Can't hide. Nobody can hide, and we can't hide from the Creator. Can't hide. Crawl under the bed and it doesn't matter. He sees the heart. How much more than that he sees everything literally? If he could see the invisible things. We even read, did not the one who created the eye, does he not see? Does the Father not see when he created the eye to see? He doesn't see, he sees. And he also created the inward parts. So does he not see the inward parts when he made it and knows what it is? He sees the inside and the outside, both equally, and must be just as easy for him to see both equally without partiality. But the inside is what matters. Love your enemies, bless those who curse you, do good to those who hate you, pray for those who spitefully use you and persecute you, that you may be sons of your Father in heaven. Why does Messiah say that? Because like Father, like Son, being made in this is who the Father is. That's why. So if someone's doing these works and teaching otherwise, they don't believe these words and they're not sons of the Most High like they would like to sell and tell people they are. Not when they're doing evil constantly, they're not sons, because Father doesn't do this work, nor is he commanding anyone to. We read, don't even think that he tempts somebody to sin. The Father can't even be tempted with evil. It's not like it is with him like it is us. That's just a fact. Spiritual reality and fact and truth that has to be accepted in the heart, that it's not like it is with him for us. He can't even be tempted with evil. He doesn't tempt anyone to sin. He doesn't do that work himself. However, the flesh loves sin, so it doesn't need much to go in that direction. It doesn't need much persuasion. It needs virtually nothing. And there is an enemy. And when you see only evil around you, that is not an excuse. It's just to say that this world is evil. It doesn't help that there's only evil everywhere, but nobody can use that as an excuse to the Creator and say it's evil everywhere, therefore I excuse myself and do evil. No excuse. We can't make an excuse. Nobody can make an excuse. We read it. Nobody can escape judgment, but the Pharisees think they can. Their heart believes they can and are escaping already. Messiah said, how can you escape the judgment of Gehenna? Or, classically said in the King James Version, how can you escape the damnation of hell? Damnation. This is the judgment from above, that someone's already condemned and judged by the Father. How can you escape that judgment of Gehenna? They can't, but they think they can and want to believe they can. They're not escaping right now, and they won't to come. If you greet your brethren only, what do you more than others? Do not even the tax collectors do so? Therefore you shall be perfect, just as your Father in heaven is perfect. We have this teaching with Abraham as a type, as a teaching. There just wasn't any reality for Abraham concerning the spiritual things because they weren't revealed yet until Messiah. But the teaching has been there. Be perfect. Can we be perfect of self? No, that is the trick. It requires denial of self, as Messiah did. And through him working in us, this can be completed, built up, not in one day, but it can be done through him. No one can do it of self. That is the whole world doing its own works, breaking the Sabbath every day spiritually in their heart, trying to work, trying to be good, trying to make self-righteous. If I do this, I'm righteous. If I do that, I'm righteous. It doesn't actually seek the Father's righteousness from its heart. It doesn't actually want to do actual good and seek the Creator to do his will and do actual righteousness, which only comes from him, and denial of self through belief. But it wants to say and make up its own rules and laws. And then if you complete your own laws and rules, then you're righteous by your own standard, which is to be Elohim Almighty in someone's heart. Still haven't. Let me look for those. I want to read that at least once here. Messiah's words on. I think it's in Matthew, at least. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. So if someone's treasure is underground and their heart seeks and loves money in its heart, their heart is where their treasure is, in the dirt, underground, carnal. Yehoshua, knowing their thoughts, said, why do you think evil in your hearts? How did Messiah see that? You know, people have this weird, like, carnal, superstitious image. This is supposed to be us to know and see. Messiah commanded to do righteous judgment. Father gives spiritual discernment to see the works of the heart. Messiah says, you will know them by their works. So we have to do that, have to be able to see. Because the only way to know someone is by their works, the works of the heart, the only works that matter, which are the invisible things happening within someone. That's the foundation. That's the highest thing. That's where all evil comes out of, the heart. How is he saying, know them, you will know them by their works, but then to not also teach we have to see. We have to see. So Messiah saw. Why do you think evil in your hearts? He saw it. Brood of vipers, how can you, being evil, speak good things? For out of the abundance of the heart the mouth speaks. Teaching more true teachings, parables. Sometimes you have to say things that are going to be contradicting to other things, like good man, knowing that no one is good, but nevertheless a good man out of the good treasure of his heart brings forth good things. An evil man out of the evil treasure brings forth evil things, to make the contrast. Maybe I'll find it by putting in the word murder. I don't know, it's probably in there a lot. 31 times. Here it is, Matthew 15:19 specifically. Every plant which my heavenly Father has not planted will be uprooted. Let them alone. Isn't that teaching in Revelation? Messiah's teaching it right here. Let the filthy be filthy still. Let the unrighteous be unrighteous still. Every plant my heavenly Father has not planted will be uprooted. Let them alone. They are blind leaders of the blind, and if the blind leads the blind, both will fall into a ditch. Peter answered and said to him, explain this parable to us. So Yehoshua said, are you also still without understanding? Do you not yet understand that whatever enters the mouth goes into the stomach and is eliminated? But those things which proceed out of the mouth come from the heart, and they defile a man. For out of the heart proceed evil thoughts, murders, adulteries, fornications, thefts, false witness, blasphemies. These are the things which defile a man, but to eat with unwashed hands does not defile a man. All those things mentioned come from the heart. So breaking, you shall not murder, breaking, you shall not commit adultery, breaking with fornication, have no other Elohims, no idols, breaking, you shall not steal with thefts, breaking, you shall not bear false witness with false witness. All the things blasphemies break. It's everything. It's murder to the Creator. That's the truth. It's murder in heaven to have hatred, the evil hatred towards someone, evil thoughts. Evil thoughts mean evil thoughts. Evil hatred, evil thoughts towards someone is murder. What's the difference between that and good? Well, the good comes from the Father, first of all, and not from self, but often won't look like anything on the outside, can't be discerned that way. Discerned within. Someone could just say, I'm not doing evil. That's what they'll say. If someone were to be exposed to bring it out that they have murderous heart, they'll just say, what do you mean? I'm not doing anything. No, I have good intentions. What do you mean my murderous heart? I'm not doing that. How do you know that anyways? I'm not doing that. That's what someone will do. Because they're in darkness. They don't think anybody could see because they can't see. If I'm in darkness, everyone must be in darkness, self says to self, secretly. I think that might be it. I just wanted to share some on Kingdom of Heaven is at hand. Yehoshua called his disciples to himself and said, I have compassion on the multitude, because they have now continued with me 3 days and have nothing to eat. And I do not want to send them away hungry, lest they faint on the way. How many loaves do you have? He asked. They said 7, and a few little fish. So he commanded the multitude to sit down. Oh, this just happens to be, like said earlier, where the murders, the thefts, this happens to be the same chapter, Matthew 15, about, should say now, 5,000. Maybe it doesn't say it in this chapter. I don't know. It says multitude. Okay, this must be a different. Okay, I didn't realize that. So I'm pretty sure I read 5,000 somewhere, but here it says those who ate were 4,000 men, besides women and children. Okay, I'm not sure. Is that meaning besides that there were more than 4,000? I think so. It's not saying specifically 5,000 in Matthew 15. The next chapter, though, the Pharisees and Sadducees came and testing him, prove and test all things, but they're doing wicked testing. There's good testing and there's wicked testing. They only do the evil testing. Wanting to catch someone in sin so that they can condemn someone is a wicked, murderous heart. It's a wicked testing, not the good testing. Testing him, asked that he would show them a sign from heaven. He answered and said to them, when it is evening, you say it will be fair weather, for the sky is red, and in the morning, foul weather today, for the sky is red and threatening. Hypocrites. Footnote for the critical text doesn't have hypocrites in there. It removes hypocrites. Why not? Hypocritical text. You know how to discern the face of the sky, but you cannot discern the signs of the times. A wicked and adulterous generation seeks after a sign, and no sign shall be given to it except the sign of the prophet Jonah. He left them and departed. The Father gives signs. We read this a lot. In all the different teachings, and with the Israelites, there were signs given. Without any discernment and understanding, it can sound and look like Messiah is saying that all signs are wicked. No, he's not. Wicked and adulterous generation is seeking this sign out of a corrupt heart. It's putting him to the test. It's not wanting to believe. The heart is not seeking truth. It's not asking a real question out of seeking truth and saying, what does this mean? What is this? I would like to know. It's not asking a genuine question. It's doing wicked testing on Messiah. So its heart's intentions completely corrupt, and it wants to see a magnificent sign, and then they'll claim something like, well, then I'll believe. Then I'll believe. See, that kind of sign, wanting that kind of sign is corrupt. It's not evil to receive a sign from the Creator. Spiritual signs he does give. Maybe some literal signs for some here and there. But then they're connected because the creation is, it's all one. But the point is that there is a right way around with this. Just someone has to make sure their heart's not corrupt and not making sure they know why they ask for something and what they want, why they want it. The Pharisee's blind. It's not going to think that. They're not going to ask themselves that or test themselves. Why am I asking for a sign? Why am I asking Messiah to do a sign? They're not going to check themselves because they're blind. And their reason is completely corrupt. They want to catch him in sin. They want to see magnificent things first, and then they think that'll be proof, which is corrupt. That's not faith to see first. Father will give signs to those that actually believe along the way. That's not faith to see. I'll see and then I'll believe. Then it could never be called faith if someone believed because they saw something, some magnificent thing first. The Messiah is teaching that having this want in the heart is corrupt. Sin. It's a wicked generation, adulterous generation. To have that specific want in the heart. The signs all by themselves are not evil. It needs to discern what the heart's doing. Take heed and beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. They reasoned among themselves, saying, it is because we have taken no bread. Yehoshua, being aware of it, said to them, O you of little faith, why do you reason among yourselves because you have brought no bread? Do you not yet understand or remember the 5 loaves of the 5,000 and how many baskets you took up? Nor the 7 loaves of the 4,000. Okay, there's 2 different ones. Nor the 7 loaves of the 4,000 and how many large baskets you took. How is it you do not understand that I did not speak to you concerning bread, but to beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and Sadducees? Still says the same thing. But some explanation Messiah is giving to his people. That's what he'll do for someone that believes today, is tell you plainly in spirit what it means. Tell you plainly, and he'll say, how come you didn't know? No, he won't do that out of evil, but he'll say the same thing. What do you mean you don't understand yet? Then they understood that he did not tell them to beware of the leaven of bread, but of the doctrine of the Pharisees and Sadducees. Their doctrine is leaven. It grows. It's like a cancer. It's for corruption. The leaven grows for corruption. That's their doctrine. Their doctrine is corruption, leaven, and it grows inside people and it destroys them, and they're utterly faithless because of that destruction it does in them. This is the work of the Pharisees and Sadducees and any other division apart from Messiah. Leaven, corruption. Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him, saying, far be it from you, Master, this shall not happen to you. Concerning being killed and raised on the 3rd day, we read that he's saying, no, this will not happen to you. What is it to Messiah? A strong temptation to sin. That's what it is to Messiah, what he just did, which he didn't realize and see. Didn't see it. He would see it later. He didn't see it at the moment. He turned and said to Peter, get behind me, Satan. You are an offense to me. For you are not mindful of the things of Elohim, but the things of men. Going to be confusion unless that discernment and understanding is being given. How could Messiah say to someone, believer, his people, a believer saying, get behind me to Satan, to another believer, get behind me, Satan, you are an offense to me? But Messiah knows what's happening. Not mindful of the things of Elohim, but the things of men, carnality, of men, of self's understanding, of self's wants and lust and flesh and everything to do with sin. The enemy working through people. Watch and pray for temptation to not cave into it. If anyone desires to come after me, let him deny himself and take up his stake and follow me. For whoever desires to save his life will lose it. But whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. For what profit is it to man if he gains the whole world and loses his own soul? Or what will a man give in exchange for his soul? For the Son of Man will come in the glory of his Father with his angels, and then he will reward each according to his works. Assuredly, I say to you, there are some standing here who shall not taste death till they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. This was true. This is true for anyone that might still believe today. It's happening. It requires death to see the kingdom of Elohim, to see the Father, to see Messiah. Not taste death till they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. To see him is to have died. It's all one at the same time. If someone has not died, they don't see the kingdom. They don't see him. But if someone will see and believe him, they have died. Like the apostle tries, to give the understanding, speaking in that kind of way, like you have to speak like it's already kind of sounds like it's done and fulfilled, but it's not fully done. But this is what this is what the plan looks like. If someone does believe and endure to the end, this is what it will do. This is what the teaching for the end is, but it doesn't literally mean someone's already there. So the apostle says, but you have died. You have put your body, however we read, and its sins, flesh, to death, but you have died. This is that death Messiah is speaking of here. Shall not taste death till they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. So to believe is to be dead and dying to the old man until it perishes fully, until that cutting off, like earlier, until the eyes are cut off, the hands are cut off, the body's cut off, piece by piece. And there's only the new man in Messiah. Growing inwardly, we read, growing bigger, but the outward man is perishing. Spiritual words. The outward man, it is literally doing that, but that's not the understanding. The outward man is that old man. The carnal man is, as a believer, is needing to be perishing, and the other growing. Messiah increasing in us, and the old man decreasing until he's cut off, dead, destroyed, complete. And those that hang on to their soul and life, they're hanging on to something that must be destroyed, that's rotting and corrupting. So as long as they hang on to themselves, that's the judgment. Then they're just dying. There's no life because they do not believe and do not deny themselves and believe the truth. They hang on to self-righteousness, to self, to loving self in this way, saving its own soul in this way. And that's corruption, that's dying, it's being judged. That's the determined thing. Die and have life, or just die with no life, no hope, no belief. Those are the two ways, narrow way and the wide gateway. And the wide gateway is all the same in the heart, all the same. Same sin is done in the heart, the same death. But what it looks like on the outside, there's divisions and it looks a little different from one thing to another, but it's all the same within. It's not different within. Once something is truly seen, that's real, it's the same all the time, forever. It never changes. And it's the same for everyone. Father doesn't change. If a teaching comes from him into someone's heart, that teaching will stand forever. It doesn't change like man's doctrine and man's things constantly changing, blown around by the wind. Lying when it needs to lie, changing back, lying again, do this lie, cover that lie, just keep on lying all the time. Love and practice lying outside of the kingdom. Not good. But if it must be so, then it must be so. Let the filthy be filthy still. It's just the truth. It's not set out of condemnation. It's not set out of pride. The Father doesn't sin. Messiah is not sinning. It's set out of truth without pride. It's just the truth. Adam is filthy. Let him be filthy still if he doesn't believe them. That's it. People will be tempted to revenge and do evil. That's why we read, let them be. Otherwise, it's going to be evil. Otherwise, someone's going to do evil back to the enemy, to their enemy, and murder the enemy. Otherwise, they'll do the same thing they claim to hate, which will be exposed as a fraud and a liar that doesn't actually hate murder because it's doing it. It loves it. It just doesn't like it being done to self. But it loves doing the murder because it's doing it. It's proving it loves it. It just doesn't like someone doing it to self. That's why we read, do to others as you would want them to do to you. Nobody keeps that. Nobody in unbelief keeps that. Nobody can keep that of self. They don't even check. They don't even check to see if they keep that. Have to be reminded. That's for believers to do and remember and keep. But if someone is able to check, if someone's able to remember, did I do this in this one instant? They'll find out that's all they do is fail and do evil apart from him. If they were to check, they would find that out. So then what's someone gonna do? If that's the result, then what do you do to escape it? You don't check. Done. Now I will not check what I know will make me guilty and make me a sinner. So then I won't check myself. That's not actually working. That's a delusion. That's not running away for real. It's just someone that thinks they can run. It's still happening exactly the same with no difference in the heart, whether someone checks or not. They can't change the reality. It's not changing anything. If I don't check myself, that means I'm hiding. That's stupid. But we're supposed to check those so that we don't do evil, so that we check and do good. It's for us to know, but I'm just speaking of this other thing, of what someone would think in their heart secretly and think, well, if I don't check myself, maybe that means, then the result of I'm a sinner will not be true because I didn't check myself. Nonsense. Blind. We do read that's what we read. Those that don't believe do this all the time. They say nobody can see me. Nobody sees my sin. Not even the Creator sees me. He won't do any good. He won't do any evil. He won't do anything. Nobody can hurt me. Nobody can destroy me. I am God Almighty. In the heart, in the temple, the man of sin, the son of perdition. I am mankind. All of man is the son of man, the son of perdition, son of Adam. Death, the man of sin. The Elohim of Elohims in his own temple, dwelling where he shouldn't dwell, taking the place of the Creator in his heart in pride is mankind, not just one person coming someday. One beast, one false prophet. That one beast and one false prophet is mankind, all of it that doesn't believe. of their father, the devil, the beast, and false prophet. So they are also everyone that's of the enemy and does the devil's works, do the works of the devil, which we read believers need to overcome, the works of the devil, which are all works of evil. So if someone's doing the works of the enemy, are they not a beast and false prophet like their father and Elohim of this world? In the image of the beast, the spiritual image of the enemy, what the heart's works look like and are of the beast, of the enemy. So that works of the devil is beastly works in the heart. And we do read that old serpent called a beast. So man does like that. He likes even saying that word out of some kind of pride. That was beast, man. That was beastly. Yeah. I wonder why. It's just speaking out of what it knows. That's all just coming naturally to speak about evil as good. It believes evil is good and good is evil. Light is dark and dark is light. Well, maybe I'll just open up randomly one time and see what's given, what happens. Matthew 22. Yehoshua answered and spoke to them again by parables and said, the kingdom of heaven is like a certain king who arranged marriage for his son and sent out his servants to call those who were invited to the wedding. Amazing. And this is about the kingdom of heaven specifically as the title that I just had. Amazingly, the kingdom of heaven, the truth is at hand. This is what a little bit of like what the kingdom of heaven is like. It's like a certain king who arranged a marriage for his son and sent out his servants to call those who were invited to the wedding, and they were not willing to come. And he sent out other servants, saying, tell those who are invited, see, I have prepared my dinner, my oxen and fatted cattle are killed, and all things are ready, come to the wedding. But they made light of it and went their ways, one to his own farm, another to his business, and the rest seized his servants, treated them spitefully, and killed them. But when the king heard about it, he was furious, and he sent out his armies, destroyed those murderers, and burned up their city. Then he said to his servants, the wedding is ready, but those who were invited were not worthy. Therefore go into the highways, and as many as you find, invite to the wedding. So those servants went out into the highways and gathered together all whom they found, both bad and good, and the wedding was filled with guests. But when the king came in to see the guest, when is this happening? Right now. Right now. When it's happening. But it's happening in our life. It says when it applies, now and to come, all things are one. So then a bunch were invited, good and bad, representing those that believe, those that don't. It's how good and bad is being used. But when the king came in to see the guest, he saw a man who did not have on a wedding garment. So he said to him, friend, how did you come in here without a wedding garment? And he was speechless. Then the king said to the servants, bind him hand and foot, take him away, cast them into outer darkness. There will be weeping and gnashing of teeth, for many are called, but few are chosen. What has the harlot done with this parable, with all Messiah's teachings and words? They don't know what it means. They speak of some outer darkness to come some days. It has nothing to do with now. And as the Father being a murderous torturer, punishing someone outer darkness forever, while being burned in fire alive forever. And it's not the understanding. Is it lawful to pay taxes to Caesar or not? Yehoshua perceived their wickedness and said, why do you test me? So this is a wicked testing. You're not doing any good with this kind of testing. It's not out of some kind of good concern, a true test to prove and test all things. This is, once again, when they asked this, their heart was wicked. That's why it says Messiah perceived their wickedness. Why do you test me, you hypocrites? Show me the tax money. So they brought him a denarius, and he said to them, whose image and inscription is this? They said to him, Caesar's. He said to them, render therefore to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to Elohim the things that are Elohim's. When they heard, they marveled and left him and went their way. They marveled because Messiah found a way. A way was given for truth and for doing good in his heart, and he did no evil to them, while actually answering their question rightly through a righteous way and truth. That's why they marveled, because they were wanting to catch him in sin, and he didn't sin. Nobody can fake what's real. That's why they marveled. Not even the enemy. No, nobody can fake what's real. They marveled because the works they saw, even though they didn't believe them, didn't believe in him, they saw good works. They still looked at it. They saw it. They just couldn't perceive it. They have eyes, but they cannot see. They saw it, yet they couldn't see. The Sadducees say there is no resurrection. They came and saying, teacher Moses, if a man dies, the whole thing with they're trying to test him for there being no actual resurrection of the dead. So that was a different divided group from the Pharisees that had something different, that proclaimed something different. But they weren't believers either. Messiah's answer, you are mistaken, not knowing the scriptures, nor the power of Elohim. They don't believe. For in the resurrection they neither marry nor are given into marriage, but are like the messengers of Elohim in heaven. Concerning the resurrection of the dead, have you not read what was spoken to you by Elohim, saying, I am the Elohim of Abraham, the Elohim of Isaac, and the Elohim of Jacob? Elohim is not the Elohim of the dead, but of the living. And when the multitudes heard, they were astonished at his teaching. They never have anything back to say directly and truthfully answer directly, because they can't contradict the truth, and nobody can do that when it's given. They can hate it, they can claim all kinds of things, but they can't righteously answer directly to the truth when they're against it. So we read, the ones were marveled and these were astonished also. I think that's going to be it. Finish there, I guess. Yeah, it's good. Peace, take care, seek truth from above.